Before we get this video started, I just want to ask you all, not ask you, why did I keep saying? I just want to tell you all the reason why I didn't upload a video last weekend. It seems to be something I've been doing a lot recently. It's kind of more like a tradition to my channel. The reason, though, is because, well, ever since I forgot to upload a video last weekend, since I had a lot going on and since stuff was driving me crazy, I decided to come up with some good excuse for all of you. And the best excuse I came up with is, well, summer break means I'm only posting a YouTube video every other weekend. Yeah, I know that's probably not the best excuse, but I'm going to go with it. It's only for the summer. Once, starting August, we're going to get back to the whole tradition of uploading one video per each weekend. But I guess for the remainder of summer break, I'll only be uploading a YouTube video every other weekend. And of course, one YouTube short per every month. So just keep that in mind. Alright, let's get this started. Hello everybody. Well, yeah, alright, got something I want to discuss today. I always got something I want to discuss. This is simple. Superheroes. I talked about superheroes many times before. You all already know that it's a thing I personally have a huge love for. It's one of my favorite kind of ideas. Superheroes are always bringing the fun to me. And then today I decided maybe what would be more fun is to talk about my favorite superhero out of them all. Well, actually, Batman is my favorite superhero out of them all, but let's go to Marvel, okay? I like Marvel movies more, and, movies is the channel thing, so let's go with Marvel. What is my favorite Marvel superhero of all time? Who else? Spider-Man. He's everyone's favorite. He's the Mickey Mouse of Marvel, is what everyone says. It feels random, like Batman's my favorite DC character, but he is everyone's favorite, and Spider-Man's my favorite, but he's everyone's favorite as well. I feel like I'm just going to be stepping up with what everyone else is saying. No, I'm not. He's my favorite because, well, he's the youngest from what I've seen, and that just feels unique. I also love him because he just seems to have the best kind of style in him. All of his web powers and suit design, it all just felt very satisfying to read and watch. And of course, with all the Spider-Man comics and cartoons there was also a good chunk of Spider-Man movies. And today, that's what we will be doing. We will be looking at, well, we won't be ranking the actual Spider-Man movies. We're going to be ranking the Spider-Man actors today. Actors who appeared in a cinematically released Spider-Man movie. So that's what this whole list is going to be about. Now, let's go for the rules. I'm only talking about actors who, like I said, who portrayed Spider-Man. It doesn't matter if it's animated or live action, but it has to be in a movie that was cinematically released. I'm also only including the American Spider-Mans. There are foreign Spider-Mans out there, but yeah, I haven't seen those Spider-Mans, and I don't want to make fun of the Spider-Man for its language or traditional ideas. So we're excluding the foreign Spider-Mans. We're only including American cinematic Spider-Man actors' portrayals. How about that? Let's go with that. A ranking of all of the cinematic American Spider-Man portrayals. Does that work for you? Sounds catchy. Alright, with that being said, let's get the list started. Nicholas Hammond Spider-Man. If you're a big Spider-Man fan like I am, you probably don't know who this is. Well, that makes sense. Anyway, Nicholas Hammond is a portrayal of Spider-Man from the late 70s and early 80s. Yeah, again, a lot of you probably never heard of him, but for those who haven't heard of him, I'll talk about him. Nicholas Hammond portrayed Spider-Man early on, back when Spider-Man was still just appearing in cartoons and comics. The only live-action Spider-Man we got is this one, and he only appeared in a bunch of TV miniseries and TV movies. Now, I know I said cinematic movies, but here's the thing. While the first Spider-Man TV movie was released in TV everywhere, the two sequels were cinematically released in other countries, and they were still American. So with that said, it counts. And it's ranked at the bottom. And look, I'm not going to complain about the action sequences. I mean, I know this is the 70s and it was made by a very low budget. Like, this was before Marvel had that big budget that they have now. This is kind of back when DC was using up all that Marvel budget in their films. Because remember, Superman came out that year. Regardless, though, looking at it today, this Spider-Man just doesn't feel the same. He doesn't even feel like he should back then. The suit design just doesn't look right. I mean, we all know how the costume looks. It looks like a cheap Halloween costume. The eyes just don't look right to me, and yeah, the overall setup is just kind of basic. And I mean, again, I know this is older version, but still, looking at it today, it's just too basic. Also, this Spider-Man just you never really asked the right kind of Spider-Man. I again look okay, yes, I get it, old budget, but still, he doesn't have many web swings. He's all we really see him do is dodge and throw webs. He doesn't really web swing enough or have all the fun action sequences that he should. I mean, really, he just feels very derpy compared to the ones we have today. Look, I'm gonna have look. You're all gonna think of the same excuse. This was an older time. This was an older time. I get it. It was an older time, but still, looking at him today, the older time just doesn't look the right way. Andrew Garfield's portrayal. Alright, here's a portrayal a lot of people seem to have grown to dislike a lot. Actually, I'm just gonna say it. His portrayal's not that bad. It's number 4, it's still ranked, but we're getting to the moments where these are good Spider-Mans. And yes, I actually like this Spider-Man. He actually works pretty well. I'm sorry, but I like him. The suit design, and many people complain what we see here is from the original film, but I gotta say I like the suit design in the original film. It connected pretty well to the live action realistic terms. I mean, it made sense. It looked right the way you wear it. I mean, there were some differences that many people criticized, but I don't know, they weren't that bad. I like the more realistic looking design. It just looked more like it fit into the world. I will admit the Amazing Spider-Man 2 suit he wore, like in the sequel of it, I personally wasn't a fan of. Like, it was just looked too bad. It looked, again, just looked too much like a Halloween costume rather than an actual suit. Anyway, let's talk about how Andrew Garfield portrays Spider-Man generally. Again, he's not that bad. I mean, I get many people would say Garfield's just too cool to be a teenage nerd, but you know what? I mean, come on, he could portray a teenage nerd fine. Like, it works perfectly. I mean, at least it's something new, right? He definitely portrays the nerdy Peter Parker terms. Probably not the best, I'll admit. But let's just talk about how he works as actual Spider-Man. Pretty cool, I'll admit. The way he portrays a Spider-Man is kind of different. It's kind of like, he kind of acts like a Deadpool sort of Spider-Man. He's always talking sarcastic to his criminals. He's always just being as ridiculous as possible in his crimes. That's another thing people complain about, but again, just some of it is enjoyable. Okay, there is a good chunk of it that's not enjoyable, kind of dumb, unnecessary, but another chunk of it is fun, and it works pretty well. Again, maybe you can say he's not good Spider-Man, but I like his portrayal. It works. Yeah, it works. It just seemed to find it interesting. It's not great, though. I'm gonna say that. It's not the greatest, but it's still pretty good. It still worked fine. Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man. Here's the original one we all remember growing up with. While Nicholas Hammond, like I mentioned, was the first live-action Spider-Man in general, when it came to seeing American cinemas opening to the big superhero, this is what started it all. This Spider-Man brought the name to the big screen perfectly. In fact, from my word, at the time, this was Marvel's greatest movie creation. It seemed to have beaten so many records. And to this day, I still think it's pretty epic how it works. Alright, well, how does this movie hold up? Oh, well, it doesn't matter how the movie holds up. How does Tobey Maguire's portrayal hold up? Pretty well. While I complain that Andrew Garfield doesn't work very well as a Peter Parker nerd, Tobey Maguire does portray the nerd better. And you know what? I actually think his portrayal of the Spider-Man character is a little bit better. He doesn't have any sarcastic tone. He's just being a friendly neighborhood Spider-Man we all remember. His over-exaggerations are kind of crazy, I'll admit, but at the same time, it's still fun to see everything he does. He just seems to fit into the world better. Andrew Garfield's backgroundness, like the designs, the suit design and reactions, while those feel more realistic, the way this Spider-Man actually acts to his criminals and to everyone else in New York is what's realistic. And that's what matters. It's just what makes Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man work. A lot of people love to, go with memes. That's the problem, though. It seems like nowadays when people think of Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man, they always like to just post random memes on YouTube. They pretty much take many quotes he says and doesn't take them seriously. I'm not trying to follow along with that trend. I mean, I sort of am, but no. He's still a good Spider-Man. He still holds up pretty well to this day. And hopefully, if he does return for the upcoming Spider-Man movie that Sony still has yet to show us, he'll be good. Yes, this is Chris Pine's Spider-Man. Okay, you might be complaining, why is he better than Tobey Maguire if he only appeared on the screen? Yeah, this version of Spider-Man, the Chris Pine version, the version in the first original Spider-Verse world, he only appears on screen for a whole 5 to 7 minutes. A lot of people seem to think, why do I think he's better if he's only on screen for that long? I'll tell you why. Regardless of how long he's on screen, how he acts does inspire me. I like the way he acts. He's pretty much does fight crime in a more fun fashion. I'll admit. I mean, his reaction to when he sees the other Spider-Man feels genuine pretty well. I just like how he actually does have a good, sad death. Oh yeah, for those who haven't seen Into the Spider-Verse, I apologize, but yeah, this version of Spider-Man died. Anyway, with that being said, after this version of Spider-Man died and more Spider-Mans came on, I don't know, I felt like I kind of lost that tradition. But regardless, I still admire what this Spider-Man had for when it appeared on screen. Again, it's weird since he only was on screen for 7 minutes and he's better than Tobey Maguire to me. But if he was on screen for much longer, he probably would have had a big impact and would work better than the others. It's my opinion, and maybe, just maybe, I can remake this list and have Chris Pine somewhere else on the list. But for now, I'm sorry, he's just better than them in all ways. Even though he's not on screen for long, for when he is on screen, he's admiring. Alright, let's talk about Tom Holland now. A lot of people would argue, the only reason you people call Tom Holland the best is because he's an MCU version, and MCU casts everyone the best. Yes, they do. But let me give you a better example of why I think Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man is the best. Evolution. That's the key word I'm going to talk about. Evolution. While all the other Spider-Mans I've talked about on this list just have this simple, basic story. They get bit by a spider and instantly become a badass superhero. With this Spider-Man, he gets bit by a spider and then decides to go do simple, minor little situations in his area in New York. And then, as the films go on, he learns more ways as he meets up with the Avengers and starts to actually kick more and more ass as the years go on. One of the reasons Homecoming is my favorite Spider-Man movie out of the bunch, because that was the movie where he actually evolved. I mean, I know he wasn't as powerful as we think, but that's the point. I found it very nice seeing him interact with MCU heroes and learning the ways of what we make Spider-Man the hero we grew up with. And he definitely improves with his action skills as the films went on, because while him in Homecoming probably doesn't compare action well to the older films, him in Endgame or Far From Home or even Infinity War are definitely much cooler looking. He definitely fights crime in Endgame and Far From Home, and hopefully in No Way Home, much better than all the older Spider-Man actors. Yeah, that's just what makes him my favorite. He just seems to have that confidence I was happy to see with him. I know it's weird to call him that for that reason, but just because this Spider-Man actually evolved to become something he didn't have to be before, it just makes him my favorite. All the other Spider-Mans just seem to act the same kind of superhero they always were. While this one, he becomes something new every movie. Every time period, he becomes a completely better, improver person. Did I say improver? I need help with my grammar. Anyway, yes, you can call it cliche still, but it is my opinion. Tom Holland's Spider-Man is the best. So I ranked Batman actors, because remember that video? If you don't, you have to watch it. It's still on YouTube. And now I rank Spider-Man actors. Any more superheroes I should rank? For now, I don't think so. There just aren't many who had different actors at all compared to Batman and Spider-Man. And they're just my all-time favorite superheroes out there. Every other one out there just can't compare. So you know what? For now, these are the only superhero-related rankings I'm going to be doing. Maybe for movies I'll rank, but when it comes to actors, this is all you're going to see for the superhero genre. I might find another genre to rank actors by. If I don't, then, well, there you go. Superheroes. Wee, superheroes. Regardless of that, there you go. I ranked superheroes. Now you know how much I love these heroes. And now I can finally lay off the heroes and talk about more stuff because I feel like all I'm talking about is Star Wars and superheroes. I need to think more out of the box. I gotta start watching more movies, okay? I'm on summer break for God's sake. It's been raining the past few days. If I'm gonna be a YouTube channel, I need to actually be who I'm trying to be. So you know what? That's what I'm gonna do. I am going to go upstairs in the bonus room, sit on the couch, turn the TV on, go on Netflix, and watch some goddamn movies. That sounds pretty weird without music, I'm not gonna lie.